back to the channel, everyone. Today we're at the Rogers Center, home of the Toronto Blue Jays.
That means we're up in Canada for the first time on the channel, and I gotta say the weather definitely lived up to what you would think it would be up in Canada.
Today we are outside the Rogers Center in Toronto where it's pouring rain, trying to stay dry.
Every photo you see today was taken by me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and with that, let's start the tour of the Rogers Center. The Rogers Center has a capacity of roughly 40,000 seats and opened up back in 1989. Like most Major League ballparks, the Rogers Center has 3 tiers of seating with luxury suites in between. One thing I've always noticed about the Rogers Center is the large upper deck, especially if you look out in right field towards the outfield, you can see how far it goes up. Right behind home plate, the lower level actually has 3 different sections. That's something I didn't realize until I went to the Rogers Center. The ballpark recently underwent a renovation that included a couple things. One, it added new seats, and it also added a couple party decks out in the outfield. Whenever I think of the Rogers Center, the main thing that I think of that's probably the most unique thing about the ballpark is the hotel that's attached to the side of it. As you can see, the hotel is a Marriott. This is the walkway walking around the outside of the ballpark to the entrance of that hotel. Walking into the hotel, this is the lobby. You're not going to see a lot of the ballpark when you're checking in the lobby or anything like that. The hotel does have a lot of rooms, though, that you can stay in that does overlook the ballpark. If you stay there, you have a great view of the game, spend the night. So I would recommend checking that out. I didn't stay in the hotel when I went, though. This is a close-up of one of those rooms, and you can see, depending upon where you are in the ballpark, you're right underneath someone's hotel room. If you're not going to go stay at the hotel and you're not going to go to the game, one thing I would recommend is they have the Sportsnet Grill. If you can see this photo, though, you can actually see out over the ballpark, so I would definitely recommend that. You come check out the ballpark, have a drink, whatever. If you're wondering where that Sportsnet Grill is relative to the field, if you look at where it says Joe Carter and George Bell, right below that, that's where the windows are to that grill. There's actually a decent amount of art around the ballpark, one of them being the gold figures outside. You can see it here, and it's called The Audience. Moving back inside, if you look out in dead center field, you have the large video board, and that was also part of the renovation. Out in right field, one thing I really like that they did during the renovation is they have 4 levels of standing room where you can view the ballpark. Those 4 levels aren't even counting the people on the field level that's between the Rogers sign. Above that, you do have the Rogers Landing. If you're going to get down to Rogers Landing, I'd get there early because you can see a lot of the railing standing room only goes pretty quick and you won't have a good view. Looking down at the Rogers Landing before the game, there's still some open spots. So we didn't stand there. We just walked around the ballpark before the game, but you can see that at that time there was some spots available. If you're not able to get a good spot to watch the ball game, one thing to note is you are up against the bullpen, so you could still watch a bullpen session. From the Rogers Landing looking out towards the field, you can see that you're actually pretty low though, so if you can't get a spot, it is a great view. If you go one level up and you look above the bullpen, there's actually a bar that's right there as well. It looks like a really nice bar. There wasn't a ton of people hanging out there during the game, a lot of places to walk up and get a drink, so I definitely recommend this if you're coming to get a beer. Similar situation to Rogers Landing though, if you don't show up early, you're probably not going to get a good spot to watch the game. Looking out at the field from the bar, still another great view. You're a little higher up, but still pretty close to the field. If you don't want to, or you're unable to go to the bar for whatever reason, they do have a standing room viewing area adjacent to that bar. Adjacent to the Rogers Landing and that bar, down the right field line, they have the exclusive Heinz Club. Definitely something worth checking out if you're going to be a season ticket owner and you want to have some higher end exclusive club access. I was unable to get into the club, but I could take a photo from here so you can kind of see the bar down there. I don't know, look kind of fancy, but one thing you do is you do get some field level seating as well. Staying in right field in the upper deck, they have the rooftop patio, another bar to check out. Looking at the view from the rooftop patio, you're definitely a lot higher up than the lower bar and the Rogers Landing. Another thing I've always noticed looking at the Rogers Center on TV is the multi-tier of standing room in center, so that's what we're going to go check out next. I think it's a great setup. You have the batter's eye, so there's nothing there. Then you have the large video board in between. It allows people to come out and have a pretty good view of the field during a ball game. This area truly is standing room. They do have a table that stretches along so you can put your drink down, which is nice, but there is no chairs. There's 3 tiers to this standing room, and I think they're all pretty much the same. It just depends on what level you want to be on. This was before the game, so there was really no one there at the time. This is a view from that standing room. Again, really not a bad view. You're not that high up. You're really lower than the upper deck, and you're right in center field. So great place to watch the game if you don't have great seats. I mentioned the 4 different tiers of standing room out in right field. If you look out in left field, they actually have another area, and what they have is the TD Park Social up in the upper deck. This is more of a park theme. There's 2 tiers of seating, and I would definitely say this is more suitable for children. One thing to note about this area though is you can see there are actually chairs to sit down, so if you don't want to stand during a game and want to sit, maybe you do want to check this area out. Looking out at the field from the TD Park, you are up pretty high. You are in that upper deck, so I think this is a great place if you have kids or if you want to sit, but there are other better places to go if you're willing to have a standing room only and want a bar. When I went to this area, though, it was a little bit skewed because we went and checked it out before the game, and it was also Kids at the Ballpark Day, so there was tons of children there. This is walking the concourse out in center field. Got to say, pretty nice area. Definitely recommend checking it out at some point. In the upper deck, you can still walk around the ballpark out in center. You do have the video boards and different things, so you have to walk down this tunnel, but they made it nice. They have the Toronto and the different paintings, so it looks very cool. The rooftop bar out in right field and then the TD Park Social up in left field is all part of the renovation where they call the outfield district. I mentioned the hotel being the most notable part of this ballpark. Other feature that really stands out is the retractable roof. Another feature that I like about the ballpark that I think they've done really well with the renovation is the elevated bullpens. They keep them separated, which is nice, so the visiting team is out in right field, and then you have the home team out in left field. I've only been to one Blue Jays game, but I got to say it was a day game during the week, and the atmosphere is actually pretty great, so check it out. We went to a game when the roof was closed. It was raining outside, so you really couldn't tell what time of day it was. It seemed like it could have been nighttime. One thing, though, is if you do go in the stairwells or the ramp wells on part of the ballpark, you can look out and actually see the outside. Speaking of the outside, this is the exterior view of the Rogers Center. Nothing too fancy. It's a concrete building, and they definitely show off a lot of the concrete inside and out. One of the coolest things about the Rogers Center is you have the Rogers Center, and then if you look around, its location to the CN Tower, it's directly below the CN Tower. Unfortunately, we couldn't see it because the roof was closed at the time. We took a tour up to the top of the CN Tower. If you take the elevator up and look outside, you can actually see the Rogers Center when you're taking that elevator. When you get to the top of the CN Tower, you can look down and you'll see the top of the Rogers Center. I think the Rogers Center is something like 283 feet tall, and it just looks so far below. So it's pretty incredible. I definitely recommend going up to CN Tower, looking down, and looking at the Rogers Center. Another fun thing you can do is you can take a boat out to the Toronto Islands, and you can actually get another great view of the CN Tower and the Rogers Center. Driving into Toronto was my first view of the Rogers Center. Unfortunately, I didn't get a photo of it, but at the time it was all lit up. It was nighttime, it was raining, and the Rogers Center looked blue. I came back another day and took a photo of it during the day. Not as nice, but still cool to see. If you watched my Chelsea video at Stamford Bridge, you'll notice that they had the bars in front of the seats. What do you know? Here they are again. I thought that was very interesting. You don't see that at any other Major League ballpark, but here they are back at this ballpark. This ballpark was built coming off the cookie cutter era, a little later than that, but at the time all the walls were symmetric. One thing they did during the renovation was actually change the geometry of the walls, which was nice. I mentioned before that this is a concrete ballpark, and you can see it in the exterior. It really shows it off. You walk down this ramp, it's just very blatant concrete. They don't dress it up at all. Every video I like to throw in a photo of myself at the ballpark. It actually just shows that I was there. This takes us to the end of the tour. You can write in the comment section what you liked about this ballpark, what ballpark you want me to do a video on next. With that, take care until next time.